I'm surprised because I think Dr. Rimka is the most hated woman on the internet right now. So I'm surprised that we're like selling
Yeah.
out the Zoom. We'll get to why in just a minute. And I'm totally joking. My name is Jen. I am going to bring the doctors together, interview them on the panel. And kudos to all of you for being here tonight to learn something that will help your health, could potentially save your life. And the person who invited you here today did so because they care about you. They care about your health. They care about your well-being. And these are all very busy doctors. They run practices, they have online courses, they are social media influencers, like they formulate products, they sit on medical boards. Like there's a lot going on. There are so many credentials with these doctors that it would take the entire meeting to just go over all their credentials. But this is all born from the fact that we were together last week in LA, and Dr. Lynn Diaz couldn't be on with us tonight. Dr. Jennifer Lynn's not here, Jody Franklin, Dr. Susan Fox. We have so many doctors on this team. And the conversation was things like why Botox and fillers impact your child's ability to develop neurologically. We were talking about how toxins in personal care products are disrupting your endocrine system and causing PCOS. We're a fun bunch, let me tell you. But we thought, why are we holding all this knowledge in? Why don't we bring these amazing doctors together and share this information with all of you? So we are joined tonight by Dr. Marlisa Hurt, Dr. Kimberly Williamson, Dr. Stephanie Rimka, and Dr. Diane Kazer. These are powerhouse women. If you don't follow them on social media, go find them on Instagram, find them on Facebook. They are dropping knowledge constantly that will benefit you in your health journey. And it's not all about skincare tonight, believe it or not. So first up, we are going to hear from Dr. Marlisa Hurt. Dr. Hurt is a formulator for all sorts of different companies. She is very well known in the industry. She has a PhD in anti-aging medicine. And Dr. Hurt, as somebody with a PhD in anti-aging medicine, what on earth drew you into skincare and into Rimon specifically? And welcome to the call.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. I couldn't be more thrilled to be here because we have such great news to offer people. It has just been literally such a joyride since I've been able to join the Rimon family. And it had such an impact on my personal health journey. But I want to just back up a little bit and say, people always, when they meet me, they're like, what is anti-aging medicine? I've never even heard of that before. Is that Botox and fillers? And can I come and get a little tweak going on? And I'm like, no, that is not what I'm about. Quite the opposite. But I just am so excited to share that what we do have to offer addresses things, and I'm giving away the end here, but what we have to offer addresses things that Botox and fillers cannot touch. We are talking about the health of our skin at the cellular level, the rejuvenating, the reparative, the secret sauce that is Rimon addresses aging at the cellular level in our skin. Dr. An has unlocked the fountain of youth. I loved being in California with you last week and hearing him tell the story about how when he was so inspired to create these products when he looked at his infant daughter's skin and just saw the light reflecting on her face and how there was just no pores visible and it had this signature youthful look to it. And he said, that's what I want. I want to crack the code on what makes skin look like that. And he has done it. And I am so thankful because I've been through a crazy journey with my own health in the past 3 years, struggling to heal from something called oxalate detox, which is when you've been exposed to toxic mold and those toxins can't get out through regular detox pathways. So they start coming out through your skin. My skin was a train wreck before I started with Rimon. It looked like barnacles all down my arms, like little crusty volcanoes of large flakes of sea salt that were painful. Started like kind of a mosquito bite, itchy thing. And then all of a sudden, like a big glass-like flake would come out. And it was awful. For 2.5 years, I had been dealing with this. And I have tens of thousands of dollars worth of very high-end, very clean products that I stock in my office. And I thought I had the best of the best. I always am searching for the next best thing. And I have been using these things several times a day, trying to heal my skin, and it would not heal. So I'm going to go right to the punchline and say, in 2.5 days of when I tried Remon, my skin cleared up. The flakes went away. The inflammation went away. And I thought, wow, I wonder if this is just going to suppress it for a few days and then maybe, you know. So the bottom line, the answer to your question is, I chose Remon because it works. And now I'm going to back up and explain a little bit about my background and what I do and how I know what it's doing in my body. When I saw in 2.5 days that my skin healed from something that I had been trying everything at my disposal, I mean, a ridiculous amount of things that I had been trying. And this was the secret sauce. So when we talk about anti-aging medicine, we are talking about something that very foundational to our cellular health, which is called telomere biology. And if you were to look at your cells under a microscope, you would see that the end of our chromosomes are the recipe for our DNA. Every hour, billions of our cells renew. And when the cells divide, if they're too ratty and damaged and stressed out, those cells get discarded. But if there's enough nutrients available, the cells can be repaired. So when we talk about the health of our cells and how rapidly we actually age, it's actually going on at the cellular level. And interesting to realize is that in our country, in America, we look 20 times older on average than people in underdeveloped countries that don't have access to all the modern conveniences we have. They don't have access to entire linen closets full of skincare for skincare junkies like me. What they also don't have is all the toxins in the air, in the water, in the food, things that we're taking in, breathing in, they're settling on our skin. We're absorbing things through the skin. We're absorbing, toxic chemicals through our gut, and it overloads our bodies. We can actually look at this and measure how our cells are being accelerated at the aging process at the cellular level by how short or how long the telomeres are, which are like the little tails on the tips of our chromosomes. So every hour, billions of cells are replaced. They're either swept away, or if we have enough micronutrients available, those cells can be repaired. So it's this balance. It is a scientific balance. And whether or not you're aware of the toxins that you're breathing in and that you're sipping down and that you're eating for lunch wrapped in a plastic line Raptor from the drive-through window loaded with microplastics. And, we are pulling in toxins from everywhere in America. We can't avoid it. But what we can do was something that I refer to as conscious compensation. We can be aware of these things, and it can power us to be able to take back our health and literally turn back this accelerated aging process that's happening within our cells. So when I had this, what seemed like a miraculous experience happening to my body after struggling for 2.5 years with all of these different things, the beginning of this year, I had moved to the beach and I had made a decision. I had been told about a year ago that I needed to have a liver transplant due to the amount of toxic overload that I had experienced from this toxic mold. And I thought, that is not going to be me. I'm not going to live the rest of my life on anti-rejection drugs. I need to have a complete, take a personal inventory and really evaluate everything that I am putting on my body, putting in my mouth. And aligned action was my word or my phrase for 2024. And I said, I need to take a new inventory. I have been doing this for over 22 years. And I thought, really, how can this even be happening to me? I teach toxin avoidance and nutritional density and anti-aging medicine to my patients. I'm like, how could this be happening to me? But the toxic load was overwhelming to my body. And my cells simply could not keep up with the healthy replication process, and my cells were damaged. And so when I experienced Remon, I could just say in 2 words, this stuff works. But knowing what I know about how the body works, and it's this delicate balance of, if we are overloaded with toxins and we don't have enough amino acids, lipids, vitamin and mineral antioxidants to offset the toxic burden that we're experiencing, our cells rapidly accelerate in the aging process. Those telomeres get shorter and shorter. But when we have what I call conscious compensation, we take an inventory and we choose to create aligned action and put our bodies in a situation where everything we're putting into our bodies is supporting our body's ability to heal itself. We can literally flip those switches at the cellular level and turn back time. We can reverse the aging of our cells. So when I experienced using Rimon, knowing what I know about how the body works, I went, they've discovered something here. They have discovered how to reverse the aging of our cells because I can see it happening in my own body. So, you know, anti-aging medicine is the science of creating that bodily environment where diseases are challenged to survive. It literally means to reverse the aging of our cells, and it is physically measurable at the cellular level. So what attracted me to Rimon is the fact that I knew that Rimon had set a new bar in the industry for toxin avoidance, as well as flooding our cells with the nutritionally dense formulas that we have with the Cellular and the Radianzone line. So to me, it felt like a miracle, but knowing what I know and from having formulated other skincare products, I knew that we not only had something special, but something that was really able to change people's lives, really to turn back the age of our cells at the cellular level. So
thank you so much, Dr. Hurt. That absolutely remarkable, being able to turn back time at the cellular level, and the fact that the people who live in underdeveloped countries actually look 20 years younger than those of us in the first world countries. I mean, there's so much to unpack here. Just absolutely thrilled that you're with us and that this did help you with your own skin issue as well. And, you know, when somebody like you, who is also a formulator in the industry, well, in many different industries, right, comes to us because of the nutrition of the skincare. I just think that speaks volumes when someone like you is really on board with this. And I loved what we were talking about earlier too, you know, doing that double cleanse to allow your skin to receive all that nutrition, all the botanicals, all the herbs. We did a presentation today for, I think it was over 1,000 acupuncturists. Dr. Hannah Folletti, if you're on, let us know how many acupuncturists we had. But what they were all super impressed with, the herbs, right? The herbs without the pesticides and without the toxins and all the healing that these Asian herbs do. So anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Hurt, for dropping your knowledge. We appreciate you. And next up, we are going to hear from Dr. Kim Williamson. Kim is a naturopath. It's funny, Kim has her foot in holistic medicine as a naturopath, and then in the traditional allopathic medicine, or I should say conventional allopathic medicine as a physician's associate. And Kim comes to us from a medical board of a large company that you would all know the name of. And I've been fortunate enough to hear Dr. Kim Williamson speak on national stages several times. Dr. Williamson, could you please go over the dangers of toxins in personal care products and what drew you here to Rimon? And thank you so much for being on.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me. So unfortunately, there are so many untested and unregulated chemicals in our personal care, skincare, beauty care products. And that's really frightening. You know, when I went through my own holistic, my health journey over a dozen years ago, and learned about all these things, the pesticides, the chemicals, I was floored. And I just thought, why don't they teach this? They do not teach this in schools. They don't. I mean, I had one course in nutrition, and we're basically taught, see those symptoms, get a diagnosis, prescribe a medication, right? And over the years, that did not sit right with me, especially when I became the patient myself. And so there are so many toxic chemicals found in our personal care and skin care products, whether it be parabens, phthalates, preservatives, formaldehyde, artificial synthetic fragrances. There's a whole long list, right? And what I love about Rimon is that we ban over 3,000 of those ingredients, and we abide by the EU standards, which is way better than what we have here in the US, unfortunately. But what I have found in all my years of practice is that these toxins accumulate in your body. So I don't know about you, but it's pretty alarming that the rates of cancer, obesity, diabetes, allergies, eczema, asthma, reproductive issues have skyrocketed in the last couple of decades. And it's because of these toxins. These toxins continue to build up in our body. And I don't know if you know this, but our skin is our largest organ, right? And so we're going to absorb those toxins, and they're going to disrupt your endocrine system, and they're going to cause an imbalance in your hormones. And if you are wondering, oh, why are so many people having miscarriages, having issues with fertility, having low sperm counts? It's because of these unregulated toxins that are found in our products that we use on a regular, everyday basis. I mean, not just dozens of chemicals, but hundreds of chemicals in your makeup, your lipstick, any of your skincare products, your deodorant, you name it. And so over a decade ago, when I got into holistic living, I was radical. I threw out all that stuff from my kitchen, my pantry, my fridge, my cabinets. I went radical. And it's from getting rid of those toxins where I was able to reverse all the symptoms of my own autoimmunity. And I did not get on any prescription medication whatsoever. And I haven't prescribed a medication in, gosh, years, because I really do believe that natural and holistic skincare is where it's at. And so I can't even remember what your original question was, and if I answered it all. But yeah, it's you know, I've tested a lot of people over the course of the years, because I practice functional integrative medicine, and the amount of lead, heavy metals, it's wild. It's wild. And, I'm in a lot of different medical and health professional groups, and my jaw drops because, I've been on both sides, Western and Eastern, right? And my jaw drops seeing people laugh about how those who are injectors, they can't frown. I'm like, that's not normal. Like, that is not normal. And what's even more mind-blowing and downright scary is that you can attend to be an injector within a weekend. I know that some states are pretty strict, but in my state, it is not. And that is scary. And I see a lot of my colleagues who say, make sure you go, if you're going to get the so-and-so. And I've never done any of that stuff, but they'll say, make sure you go to someone who's experienced, because guess what? There are people who are not experienced and should not even have a license at all, but they'll burn you, right? And I mean, Dr. Rimka is going to go into Botox, but this stuff, Botox, fillers, injectables, any needles that go into my face, chemical peels, all of that, I don't want any of it, because there's a safer way. It's not natural. And I don't like how all these common ingredients that people are commonly doing, I mean, it's the rage now, and it's wild. I mean, my mind is blown how many people go on a regular basis to get these injectables. Even though it's common doesn't mean it's normal, right? We should normalize safer, clean beauty. So yeah, I don't know what else was your question.
No, you got it. That was the question. Talking about dangers of toxins in personal care products, and of course the fillers and the Botox and everything that people are doing nowadays, and starting very young, by the way. I have a daughter who is 21 years old, and her friends are getting the Botox at 21. What do you have to change? Anyway, we could go off. Thank you, Dr. Williamson, for sharing all of that. And especially, you've been through a lot with your own health journey and really reversed everything that you've gone through, which has been so truly remarkable. And I know that you, as a functional medicine practitioner, see the evidence of all kinds of toxicity. So we really appreciate you sharing your experience. Thank you. And you're just radiant and glowing. And actually, I invite you to look at the skin of all the presenters tonight. You don't need Botox if you have something that reverses the aging. And if our friend Judy Hahn is here, Judy has a before and after picture that is absolutely remarkable. It probably took 15 years off of her face. If you haven't seen the before and after pictures, please make sure that the person who invited you here gets you added to the testimonial groups. So next up, we are going to hear from Dr. Stephanie Rimka. And I joked that she was the most hated woman on the internet right now. She's really not, but she has been sharing an awful lot lately about Botox and fillers. Dr. Rimka, we just had the honor of hearing you speak at our very large convention in Los Angeles. And one of the things that you touched on with the Botox and fillers, as a brain health specialist who specializes in child development and children who have neurological disorders, can you touch a little bit on what you said at the convention, what Botox and fillers actually will do to the child of a caregiver?
Yeah.
Thanks for being on. Oh, and I didn't even tell all your things. There's so many credentials. So many. Go watch her. Go visit her on Instagram. Take it away, Dr. Rimka.
Ultimately, it's irrelevant other than if, whatever. I hope you'll be impacted by what I say and maybe make a difference, maybe make a different choice. So if you need edification, you can go to my website or my bio or something and be like, oh, I guess she's not that stupid. According to the interwebs right now, I'm one of the dumbest people alive, because med spa owners do not like what is rolling around. So people obviously filmed me on stage, and I did not anticipate what would come at me from that on the TikTok and everywhere. I went, oh, and I had to stop reading the comments. So I encourage all of you that want to change the world, please do it on social media, but sometimes just don't read the comments. It's like reading your own review, and I wouldn't recommend it, So, and my friend, Dr. Diane Kazer, has gone through that as well years ago. So she's coaching me on like, wow, I had no idea this was going to happen. Me trying to help children with neurological impairment, but who am I to get in the way of people making their money? So let's say this. I don't care about skincare. I find it a boring topic. I'm not interested in it. I don't have a linen closet full of anything. I have to say, I'm going to say this shout out to the field of doctors of chiropractic. I was blessed with a back injury at 16 in a soccer game that led my best friend to tell me to go see her brother, who was a chiropractor, who I said, what is that? Don't worry, Keith will help you. You'll be able to play again. Okay. And Keith, at 16 years old, although I was just thinking with a musculoskeletal issue, he was pounding into me why I should stop taking Tylenol. He was pounding into me what that was doing to my liver, telling me not to drink, telling me about my nervous system, explaining the central nervous system, efferent, afferent. I didn't really quite know, and I'd go off and get drunk. I'm like, dude, just get me ready for the game. He'd adjust me before a game, he'd adjust me after. I'm like, throw the joint back in. He goes, it's dislocated. I go, bro, I don't care. Knock it in. I got a game tomorrow. I was that aggressive. I was pounding Advil all the time, like a lot of athletes do. So, but his words were going in somewhere. And later on in life, at 22, in some conversations, I had to say, I'm really sorry. I was such a bad patient. I get it now. And that is at 22, when I threw away all the products, the antiperspirant, the deodorant. I'm 51 years old. I have not used normal products, bought normal things, shopped in a Target for beauty things. I haven't used shampoos. I am very crunchy granola, but I do want to look cute. Okay. So I do still wear makeup. I do still put like wax in my hair, and I just do the best I can to do what I can, because I understand the toxic load, and because I specialize in autism recovery, vaccine injury, schizophrenia, bipolar, PTSD, suicidal ideation. Most of my patients, 25-30%, come straight from a psych ward. So after, a self-harm event, typically. So I got to deal with a lot, ranging from a genetic level, a gut level, everything. And so the only reason I care about the skin is because it's a reflection of the intestinal tract, and it's one of the largest organs. It is a massive detoxification organ. And if I see something coming out of the skin, I know everything else in the system is broken, because that is the body's last resort. It really doesn't want much coming out of there but sweat. So if it's got to push oxalic acid crystals through the skin like it did with Dr. Marlisa, I know we have a lot of problems going on, and we really have to deal with drainage. You cannot drain and detoxify because that is your lymphatic system. That is your sewer system that gets sewage out of your body, mind you, and your whole face is flooded with it, okay? So if you start putting in fillers, actual medical devices that are being implanted throughout your lymphatic system, you block the flow of lymph. I'm going to say that first. If you purposely inject, Dr. Diane will get into this deeper, but the most toxic poison known to humanity on earth is botulism toxin, Botox. That is not hyperbole. It is the most deadly toxin known in existence, that we let somebody go to a weekend seminar and start pushing in your face. Huh? Okay, so I'm going to paralyze the nerves that go into the muscles to make them permanently relax in the hopes of them having less wrinkles. It paralyzes the muscles. It leaves the injection site. It can go to your heart, paralyze it, make it stop beating. It can go to your lungs. It can go right there, make you stop breathing. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. But by stopping the muscles as well, what did we do directly to lymphatic flow? We've stopped it. What is the purpose of all of this stuff coming down like this out of your head? It's to detoxify your brain. That is the entire purpose of sleep, is to help push out. These glial cells wake up all night to say, okay, scrub it, scrub. All the janitors come out and all they do is clean up oxidative stress. They come in there and they say, let me help with the telomeres. Let me clean this out. Let me do this. That's what you're doing. Okay. You can't do that if you freeze your face and you put fillers in there. So there's that. I'm going to let Diane, we'll get into a little bit deeper. But outside of that detoxification system, because that poisons the brain, and the brain equals behavior, the brain equals mental health states. I'm going to say something that is no shocker to me, because this is what I do for a living for 30 years, but almost all problems in education, because I deal with dyslexia and ADHD and other learning disorders as well, and mental health issues in our public space, they have to do with state regulation issues, your neurological state, and how you can regulate yourself out of that. Are we amped up? Are we flooded with emotions? Are we, high tone, low tone? You may hear these. We have a lot of sensory issues. You hear a lot sensory deficit all the time. Kids with regulation issues. Classrooms are full of it. All these special needs now, right? It has to do with state regulation issues that you have. And these cannot be resolved with drugs. There is no drug solution to this. The closest they come is tranquilization and just straight up sedation, zombify, tone down, and make like so passive we can control this person. All right. How we actually resolve state regulation issues is maybe going to be a surprise, but it's not going to be a surprise when I explain to you, because you intuitively all know this. You just didn't have the scientific explanation for it because your doctors are lying to you. So I'm grateful I did not go to medical school. I did not get brainwashed and poisoned, because a chiropractor intervened in my life and side rode my whole plan. He goes, listen, honey, you want respect? Go ahead and be the best surgeon you can be. But you want to do this, you're going to have to go another route. You'll never be respected. Be clear on that. And I'm like, I'm good with doing the right thing. I'm going to go do the right thing. So I made a different choice at 22 years old. Okay. And I've been swimming upstream ever since, and I'm not going to stop now. So they can hate me on the interwebs, and it's going to come harder now that I know I've triggered them. Because I didn't even know I was doing this. This was just skincare. I was just here to I'm like, my acne just cleared up. I was just super excited. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy. And I was like in tears. I thought, oh my God, it's just skincare. Who would be triggered? But now they done pissed me off. So I'm coming. So how you actually deal with educational and mental health problems is by activating the social engagement system. And you activate that through the vagus nerve that's intervening inside the face. It is the face-to-face contact and the ability of what our face can do with each other that's inhibiting your sympathetic adrenal system, the fight or flight cortisol system. This is neurological fact. I'm not making up pathophysiology. This is how it is. They just need to open up a book. And I'm sorry, in their 12-hour weekend, nobody is teaching them these things. So I'm asking now, I just thought I was helping people feel better about themselves because they were feeling prettier. But I'm gonna go a different angle, because I'm gonna say I want you to rethink face-to-face interactions. And I want you to look for more opportunities with them and each other and with your children, because what they really are neurological exercises. And this is all based in true vagus nerve physiology. This is how we are wired, right? Neural control of your face is critical to be able to activate the social engagement system that we're hardwired for. We are neurologically hardwired to check each other's faces. Rats check each other's faces. Your dog does it, your cat does it. All mammals are doing this. It is required, and that is how they know. By checking in with the face, a face that has control of its nerves and its muscles, particularly around the upper part of the eyes, which is really important to convey emotional experience, context, and interpersonal communication with somebody. That's all the information we're conveying. And what that is doing constantly is giving information to the other person that we're going face to face with about our biobehavioral state, right? They're freezing this part. It's getting locked. You can no longer control this. So you can no longer express biobehavioral states properly anymore to anybody. So you're at a loss of what you're trying to express. They can't read or understand what's going on. So they're misinterpreting you because you can't do this. You know, their faces can't, I don't know what they're doing, but I don't know what that means half the time. I look at them, I'm like, are you all right? I don't know. You got a thyroid disorder? Why is her face like that? Okay. Like, for real. We're all like, what's wrong with her? And I'm so naive. I did not know everybody was doing this. I really had no idea. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, when I heard Dr. Kazer speak, I added in the question, list how many times you've had Botox, fillers. I was already asking about breast implants. I did not ask about Botox and fillers until recently in my career. I messed up. I missed something because it is causing brain damage, anxiety, depression, panic, hearing loss. Other people say, oh, why did I lose my sense of taste and smell? Why did I lose my hearing? I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with that 40 units of Botox you had last month. Did you think about that? Oh, no, they don't want that to be true. Like, they don't want to make that connection, right? And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'll connect the dots. So I said we are wired neurologically to check the faces, and I'm going to explain why, but I'm going to say this. We all know this. You know why? Because what does every mother do with her baby? What's the favorite game? Peekaboo? Everybody does peekaboo. And what is like little kids' favorite game? Hide and seek. Everything is about covering the, and then doing this thing, and you go, and you just do it. You can entertain a little kid for hours doing that. Why? Because they're checking, as long as you can move your face. This is the problem. So face to face, a normal functioning face, doing what I just did with a child, especially what you're doing. You're also doing it with your lover. You're also doing it with your friends. This is what's happening. It's inhibiting. Every time you're doing that and you're with them and you can have a relaxed face and you're telling them what's happening with these very subtle cues that we can all pick up unconsciously. Your autonomic nervous system does this. You don't have to teach anybody, okay? As long as you can move your face. It inhibits the sympathetic response, the fight or flight, freeze modality we have. You're activating social engagement. That's the only way to lead to play and pleasure. Face-to-face recognition is a requirement in play. If you can't do that, you can't play. That's one of the hallmarks of autism spectrum disorders, that they don't know how to actually play. They don't have shared attention. They don't look each other in the face. They can play over here by themselves. They can play by themselves. They're not doing it together. And that's a huge thing if you don't know how to have that social engagement system locked in. That's how we bond. That's how we connect. That's how we have intimacy, because you're down regulating that baby. You're down regulating the child and your mother, your partner, whoever, your boss, calming their nervous system down. If you can't do that, this is what happens. And a lot of people on the interwebs like to say, as if I was talking out of the side of my mouth and I had no data to back me up. I was she's making this all up. There's no science. Is there not, Pumpkin? Because in 2019, there's a published study in the Aesthetic Surgery Journal. And this is what it's called: The Impact of Globellular Paralysis on Facial Expression of Emotion. And here's what we found out. By blocking the ability to move the muscles in your face, by causing facial paralysis, this is what happened. You inhibited that person's emotional expression, emotional experience, and their ability to have interpersonal communication. In addition, because this is why, because you can't perceive anger and surprise on that person anymore properly. So the people around them can't perceive what's happening. So their children can't tell what's happening to them. They don't know their emotions. So children are getting very confused and having more emotionally unstable relationships because they can't connect, because there's no proper expression. And that mother cannot down-regulate her child because the face is not showing what the child needs. In addition, they also found that the person who is having the paralyzed face and jacked up things with in medical devices implanted, this is all mostly about the glabella, about injecting here, a very important area. Their brain did not respond the same to emotions. They had less light up in the centers of the brain around empathy. They cannot feel what other people are feeling the same way. Their mirror neurons are not working, meaning they cannot take on what's called embodiment and have an association of what pain, sorrow, sadness, joy, bliss that someone in their presence is feeling. I don't know about you, but the last thing I want in this world is more disconnectedness, more emotional confusion, a lack of emotional intelligence. We're emotionally dumb enough, okay? And a decrease in compassion and empathy. Now, in my stupidity or naivete or this subculture of a world where I live in, where I haven't owned a TV in 30 years and I don't know what's going on most of the time. I wouldn't know a Kim Kardashian from a Snooki from anybody else. I don't care about it, don't know about it, don't know a Real Housewife, don't care about any of it, okay? I spend my time researching how to help people. I could give a crap less, okay? Don't know. Now, here's where I'm at. I just found out a couple of days ago with a woman who interviewed me. She's 48 or 49. She told me she started getting Botox in Salt Lake City. She says, I mean, Salt Lake City is all, bougie, all superficial. It's like the real Stepford housewives. She says, that's a subculture. It's a thing. She goes, I was getting on all my friends. At 22, I've been getting Botox since 22. Now, she stopped about a year ago because of me. She came on board with what I was doing, went carnivore, it's cleaning out her life. She got real sick. And she thought she was going to go back to it. And I was like, what? I said, this has been going on for 20 years? Like they were marketing to 20-year-olds 20 some years ago? I had no idea. And I deeply apologize to the thousands of patients at this point I missed this on. I didn't ask them about this. I did not consider this was a thing. I screwed up. Who knows who got away from me that I wasn't able to help because it was actually Botox poisoning in their brain. I will not miss it again. And I'll be damned if I what's disgusting to me, the real problem? Why are pediatricians, psychiatrists, and psychologists not telling mothers? Why do they not know this? Why is this my job? But I'll take it on because I've had enough of it. And I don't know, I'm not saying this is what caused it, but we are sure living in a world with really low emotional intelligence and seemingly lacking a lot of empathy and compassion. Is it because for 25, 30 years, people have been freezing their face? I don't know. I don't know now. I just didn't even consider this before, but I understand development. And this is the only reason I care about bringing out supporting a skincare product. Yes, I want to look good. I'm glad my acne went away. I'm glad, my testosterone hormonal 51 years old. I had some stuff happen like Marlisa, like what? Oh no, but I didn't want to go a drug route either, but I was getting desperate. And this was like a miracle overnight, 12 hours. She had took 2 days. Mine was 12 hours, maybe 8. And I almost cried. It was that good. I said, I don't know what's in this stuff. I mean, it probably can't be legal. I don't know what this special unicorn jism is, but I'm happy it's on my face. And I said it. So you got to keep you laughing in these intense topics. So that's where I'm at with it. I care about mental health. I cared about toxicity, you guys. I wanted the toxins for the PCOS and the hormonal issues and blah, blah, blah. But now that I really understand social engagement, play face-to-face, and the lack of empathy, oh, I'm coming out swinging. And I'm going to get everybody to have a safe and effective product that they feel no temptation to go get Botox and fillers ever again. And on that, I guess I'm done.
Drop the mic. Thank you for sharing. And you keep apologizing that you missed it. The whole world missed it. You are very cutting edge with Dr. Kazer in this whole field of study. And I think that, not to steal anyone's thunder, but I think in the next 5 years, this is going to be a massive topic, and you are right at the forefront. I call it the bleeding edge. You are at the bleeding edge. And I'm glad that in the meantime, you have your unicorn jism to help you keep your face young and off of
That's a new phrase. I just made it up. I'm going to turn it into a t-shirt.
We are going to make a t-shirt. Thank you very much.
I'm going to let my thunder take over, Dr. Kazer.
We are going to turn it over now. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Rimka, to Dr. Diane Kazer. Just go listen to her stuff over on Instagram, because she is going to take you right into the path of what's actually going on here with the Botox and the fillers. And one of the things that Dr. Kazer specializes in is helping women recover from toxic beauty interventions. And I suspect that until recently, that was only one thing, and then you are slowly kind of adding on more. I know that breast implant illness is something that you specialize in as well. So I'm going to turn it right over to you, Dr. Kazer, and tell us everything that we need to know about the Botox and the fillers, please. And we appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you guys too. Why do I look so blurry? What's happening here? Do I look blurry to you guys? If we're going to have a fun competition of who's the most hated, in 2019, I was banned from using the hashtag Botox. So I couldn't use it, because I was really trying to spread the word about how toxic this poison really is. I've got all the studies, I've got all the images, I've got all of the suffering. I myself went through it. And that's actually why I became a doctor. So let me just go straight to the slideshow, since I look like, you can't see all the beautiful results I've had with Ramon right now because it's too blurry. But it's my unicorn too. I've been waiting for this unicorn for a long time. I was using Beauty County before. It was okay. It was okay. But this has just blown my mind. And I don't say that like about many things. I'm not a culty like person, but when I love something, I love something, and I want everybody to know about it, because I hate the opposing end of this, which is Botox. And I've seen people die from it. I've seen women die with the breast implants inside of them, saying, I don't care what you say, Diane. I don't care about how toxic these are. I'm going to die with them in me. And they'll say these things to me. And I'm like, all right. And then I've watched them die of lupus because their breast implants rupture. So I've just seen so much of this in our industry that it pains me. And I have a heartbeat and a soul and a warrior-like energy, very similar to Rimka, which is why, like, when we met, it was like, boom, let's do this. So here I am. Let me just get straight to the point then. I'm going to respect your time by helping you prevent yourself needing to go to the hospital like I did, and being on many of the medications that I needed to take in order to reverse and overcome the side effects of these dangerous war poisons that don't belong in our bodies, anywhere near our babies or our balls or our boobs, or, as Stephanie said, our brain. None of it. None of it. It sickens me to see this. How did we get here? Obviously, one day, probably in some plant medicine ceremony in Sedona, I know one of my girlfriends, Giselle, is on this call. What's up, Giselle? She's powerhouse as well. This came to me and I was like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing this for? Just because it's, earlier, Dr. Kim said, just because it's calm doesn't mean it's normal. I'm so sick of normalizing it. No, thank you. Teenagers now are being programmed on TikTok, first of all, to have no attention at all, but to get Botox for wrinkle prevention, like it's a sunscreen or something. And I'm like, you're sick. You are sick people for doing this. And the same people that are going after Rimka came after me. I've been threatened. I've been threatened with a lawsuit. I've been threatened with cease and desist. I don't give a same thing. Okay. So I care about people more than I care about people's perception of perfection, but this is how we get here, right? It's the cult of pedestalizing any of these 10 Ps that they know more than we do. Or like, it's so interesting when I hear this, and I'm sure you doctors hear this as well on the call. People say, you know, oh, well, this person's using Botox and they're fine. Well, let's define fine. Like, does that mean not dead? Because I'll show you what I look like. I wasn't fine. So you see this picture of me on the bottom, the third one over, you guys see that one where like my eyes are all red? So December 2016 was a Botox day for me. And that was the day I went into one of those med spa chicks who wasn't a doctor, went through, I don't even know, didn't ask the questions, a weekend training or whatever. And I told her that I had a couple goals with my face a couple times before I went in for my 11s to a surgeon, a plastic surgeon. And I just got a little bit of units, like maybe 30 or so. This woman just went to town all over my face. And I was sitting in the chair going like, oh, I don't really want this much. Next thing you know, 2 weeks later, and then up until June 2017, my eyes looked like that. And I'm not joking. I was scratching until I bled. I woke up in the middle of the night. I felt tormented. And, you know, Dr. Rimka works with people who are suicidal. I was at that level. I could not figure out why I was so sick. I'm a doctor myself. What the heck am I doing in and out of all these urgent care centers, taking medications that I have been telling people that they shouldn't take? Prednisone twice was the only thing that eventually stopped it. But I took prednisone, like, hey, turn off your immune system. Like, that's a good idea, right? So eventually, after going through all of this with pink hair and breast implants and becoming a bikini competitor and learning what not to do, I just prayed to God and I said, if you show me the path of what to do, I promise this will be my journey for you, God. In fact, the name of my Express Trust is Infinite Wealths for God's Beauty. And it's all in Latin. So I'm unfuckwithable if anybody wants to come after me and take away any of my certifications. I teach people how to do that too, to protect their licensure. So I wrote a book, made a movie. I made a movie for David Icke called Dying to Be Beautiful. I made a school called Non-Toxic Beauty School. So all these resources are out there. I think these are just like fun little images I like to make about what fake beauty is versus what natural beauty is. And I think, you know, Ramon, what I love so much about Ramon is like, we're regenerating the mermaid tank. We're not Botoxing the mermaid. There's no reason to do that. You know, she needs to swim in healthier seas. And so that's what we're here to do. So this is just the common average woman. I might say some words in here that you guys might be like, wait a minute, what's transhumanism? I don't know if these are bad buzzwords for you guys, but this is kind of some of the stuff that people end up hearing years down the road and going, oh, I remember somebody talking about that. But all of these things that I've seen women do, I've seen the behind the scenes, I've seen them suicidal, bikini competitors, all kinds of women who are literally dying to be beautiful. You guys have probably seen this video. You know this one? Dr. Kim, have you seen this one? They do the whole like, how many units of Botox did you get? And they all have these answers where it's like, oh, 100 or 180, or I have them all over my body. Or this woman on the left, she's 24 and she's a little boy. Can he read her face like Rimka was talking about? Like, no, because she's just like fake smile forever. Just remember fake smiles, Rimka? All right, here, now we're getting into it. Okay, so we see this all day long. There's a really good Instagram, a really awesome woman doing a lot of really good work that you guys can follow called Botox and Filler Side Effects. She's great. You can share that with all your people. You're going to learn a lot about this stuff. It's all that she shares. And she's sharing about women like this. A woman 35 becomes partially paralyzed after getting Botox injections for her migraines. Horrifying and scary. So, you know, obviously this is not happening to everybody. And this is kind of like one of those, you know, mental constructs where people have that, you know, I'm going to live forever, ignorant. Well, it's not going to happen to me until it happens to me. Right. What I've also learned is that people who have gotten the COVID vaccines and getting Botox shortly thereafter are having even worse adverse effects. There's actually studies of that as well that you could look up. Horrifying. And then, so how can people even say, like, what was it? Was it a vaccine? Was it Botox? Was it some other drug they took? What was it? You know, this is also why the FDA is getting away with this crap, because you can't point it to one thing, because we're so full of so many poisons that you can't really point it to one thing, or can we? And so that's why we're coming together. So it also frustrates me that they're using Botox injections for anal fissure or anal pain, and they're doing this to children. They're doing this to children. They say on the black box that it travels, yet every med spa, I'm like a spy. You guys try this. I go to med spas and I ask questions. I'm like, oh, so if I did Botox, then like, you know, doesn't it spread? And they're like, no. And then I'm like, can you grab the box? And then right there in the black box, the warning says that it spreads. And it spreads. And actually, I did a video that you guys can watch and listen to on my YouTube channel. This one, I don't really post on YouTube that much anymore. Oh, hey, Stacy, she's one of my patients. You can go watch this one. It's still on YouTube somehow, but this one is a very powerful interview. You'll hear statistics on the most toxic substance known to man. They used it in the Civil War to paralyze the troops. 100 nanograms is enough to kill a fully grown human, and 1 kilogram would be enough to wipe out the entire human race. I mean, no big deal, right? This stuff is no big deal. I call them beauty bombs. So let me go back to where I was talking about here, because in that YouTube video, you can hear a lot more statistics about like, how are all these war poisons, just like glyphosate, how do they get in our food? So this is kind of the continuum, and it's just history repeating itself. And now we're seeing a lot of things like Ozempic and in large doses, and not necessarily in peptide form, because that's Rimka's profession. But when FDA gets a hold of it, then they start to make it bad. Like they poison everything. Okay, so let me keep going on this. There's so many really fun things they're using Botox for. High heel Botox, Scrotox. Yeah, that's great. It's kind of stupid. Blowtox. They're using it for so many ridiculous reasons right now that it's laughable, but it's also not at the same time, because people are getting severely injured from this kind of thing. I want to actually show you a couple more statistics too, is that, you know, Britain has been doing a lot of advocacy on the use of not Botox, like no tox. They are the country that's starting to lead this now. They're using less and less of it as time goes on. They're going more into leading, and who was it from Baywatch? What's her name? The main chick, the blonde. What's
Pam
her name?
Anderson.
Yeah, thank you, Rimka. Pamela Anderson is like showing up to red carpet events, and she's face naked, and it's awesome. But you can also look at the comments at the bullies, which I believe are like the demon programs that we have been programmed to compete against one another. We've got to stop that. Like, we're so beautiful as women, and what's the most beautiful is our heart, but that gets paralyzed when we are using Botox. It could literally paralyze everything in your body. It could paralyze your colon, it could paralyze your lungs, and then you stop breathing. I mean, this is not a joke. And especially the more that you take, because it's not just one time, it's the dose or the accumulation that can make the poison. So Britain has been really leading the way by articles like this. Explosive study claims 80% of patients getting anti-wrinkle jabs suffer side effects like headaches, brain fog, and panic attacks. Nearly 4 in 5 Brits who get them suffer side effects. And so I want to show you guys what they're talking about here. Headaches, dizzy, pain, panic attacks, and tinnitus. Ironic that they go in and use Botox for migraine relief, but then they get headaches right after, you know. I actually have a podcast, cleansehealignite.com. And I did this because so many women were like, well, what do I do? And I said, okay, if you've got migraines, let me give you 14 things that you can try to do or undo so that you don't get migraines anymore, right? Like Dr. Kim earlier talked about heavy metal toxicity, lead. I see a lot of graphene oxide toxicity. I do urinary analysis to look to see how many toxins are inside of my patients' bodies, and we clear them over time. And so different binders, different people, different environments, but we really got to start asking these questions. And by the way, Botox is different than all of the other ones. Botox actually has human albumin in it. So people like Jehovah's Witnesses who are, you know, they do not put other, you know, they don't do vaccines because it's other people's blood, or they don't do things that contain other people's bloods because it is against their religion, but they're not talking about that. Or also that maybe vegans, they don't know that there is dairy, there's lactose inside of Botox, but yet they're vegan. So there's just so much lack of disclosure and transparency that we really need to know these things, and then shoot, knock yourself out. Like literally shoot yourself out if you want to, but there's not truth enough out there about these things so people can actually have informed consent, right? Okay, so let me keep going. This is a really powerful slide if you guys want to take an image of this. And by the way, ladies, please take any of these slides and use them everywhere if you'd like to. I am not one of those people who's like, oh, you have to ask permission. Get this shit out there, please. This is the problem, and we're also here to talk about the solution. So if you actually, and you can find anything online on the FAERS database, which is the FDA Adverse Events Reporting System. You can type in anything, any drug, any medication, any injectable, and you can see how many issues that have been reported. And what do we know? Like, what's the percent of things that have actually been reported versus what actual incidents have occurred? Like 1 to 10%, right? You guys have heard that before. So let's just do the math here. At the end of year to date 2023, how many total cases were there for Botox, Dysport, Xeomin, and Juvo? How many? There were 70,341. There were 10,427 serious cases reported, right? 866 deaths. So now we could either add 1 or 2 zeros to all of this, and that is the reality, because people don't realize the severity of these toxins and what they cause in the body and how much longer after injection that there can be an event or a symptom that shows up. It could be up to 3 years, you guys. It could be up to 3 years. Just like food sensitivities, it could take 3-5 days. And you might be like, oh, what did I do today? But it could have been 3 or 5 days ago versus an allergy, which happens right now. Some people actually have allergies and die from that. That's different. But up to 3 years is what we found, that it could take up that long. So imagine if people are actually reporting, we'd have 700,000 total cases or maybe 7 million. We'd have either 100,000 serious cases or 1 million. We'd have 8,660 deaths or 80,000 deaths. And I have worked with people behind the scenes who are too ashamed to report that Botox damaged them publicly. And I'm talking about celebrities. I'm talking about doctors. I'm talking about people who make movies. These people come to me in shame and desperation. And they're like, how the F do I get this crap out of my body? I literally feel like I'm going to die. So this is serious stuff. You can take a screenshot of this and read through all the words later, because I know I kind of want to make sure we keep moving along tonight. But this is the study. It was a small study, but there's a lot of people who are actually starting to come forward and just start to compare notes. There's actually a Facebook group that you can go into as well and see how many other people are talking about this. But basically 16 people, 4 years were followed in 2016. What they found is increased autoimmune syndrome. 75% of the patients have had an increase of some autoimmune marker, increase in frequency of infections. I mean, how many UTIs do women get, right? And then we go like to the hospital and we get some kind of a antibiotic, and then we end up with antibiotic resistance, and then all of our good flora are killed, and then we have an ear infection, and then we got some other infection, and we got superbugs. I mean, this is a never-ending cycle, right? So, D-Monos might not even touch the severity of what Botox causes for these urinary tract infections, because it's coming from Clostridium bacteria. So a third of the patients have increased rate of infections, and these are the most common: upper respiratory tract infections, pneumonia, urinary tract infections, sinusitis, right? Activation, this is important too, activation of dormant diseases such as herpes may occur. So then you see people who are so ashamed walking around and I was diagnosed with herpes when I was 25, misdiagnosed with 2 when I really had 1, which is like what 90% of the population has. So when you have your immune system is super distracted by this gigantic toxin known as Botox, then retroviruses like herpes or Epstein-Barr or HPV can come out of their hiding. And so then now you have this whole huge train of inflammation. And then now people are on 5 medications and they're frustrated. And then women start to lose, their adrenal output, and they're exhausted, they're in bed, they're in pain. And then what good are they for society, or even their kids, or they can't travel, or they're staying home because, they're severely sick. This is the mother wound projected in the FDA by poisoning the literal definition of what we are, which is the Holy Spirit, which is Christ in human form. So there's also sensitivity to food and medications present in 62%, 62.5% of the patients. And so here we are running, food sensitivity tests, food allergy tests. You guys are working with doctors like, what's wrong with me? I got to figure out what the one thing is. But really, it's like, wow, I have a sensitivity to all of these things now, and I have to avoid all these foods, but these are healthy foods that I love. How did I get here? Well, you got poisoned. you got bamboozled, you got programmed. And I hate to sound so harsh, but it's just, there's not enough people talking about this. Could it be Botox? Very, very well likely. Because look at these statistics, right? This is also totally wild. Guillain-Barré. Let me show you guys some really crazy things. I see crazy things all day long researching this stuff. The treatment of facial asymmetry with botulinum toxin, current concepts, guidelines, and future trends. So there's an article that you guys can read about how they're training people at med spas and NDs that if somebody comes in with Guillain-Barré, or if they have Bell's palsy, which is a very common side effect of the COVID vaccines and a lot of the boosters and the flu shots, they're using Botox to freeze the other side that's frozen. I can't. I can't. So if you guys need to see the proof of that, go on YouTube and you can see all kinds of people showing you how awesome it is. All you have to do is just inject right here and then it freezes this side of the, it's like, okay, insult to injury, you know? Okay. I also work with a lot of the whistleblowers that are looking under the microscope at things like injectables, COVID shots, some shots as well, like the Botox, insulin, and they're finding a lot of the same particulates in these things. So what they found is that Botox has a lot of the similar ingredients, if not the same ingredients in the COVID shots that are now coming out that were poisonous to us. So I work with these specific doctors. I know them personally. And so it's really important that you also understand what this does to our genetics. Once injected, the toxin alters the expression of 227 genes, including those responsible for transmigration of monocytes and T cells across the blood-brain barrier, just like Rimka said earlier. The stuff's getting into the brain. We don't know if we can get it out, right? We're doing our best, but I mean, here we are trying to fight, but rather let's just not add it to people's bodies, right? This guy's a really cool guy to follow. I like some of his stuff, but there's a lot of this now coming out. Fillers cause cancer. I think Rimka, you spoke a little bit about that, but it's because of these ingredients in the face that don't dissolve. We're told they dissolve in like 18 months or so, but we're seeing that on MRIs that they're still there 10 years later. And if our face cannot drain, then those toxins back up, our glymphatic system can't work, and then we're ending up with brain cancer. I say I've never gotten fillers, but I'm saying we as a species, even men, you know, who interviewed me on podcasts are like, well, I like the filler stuff. So what do I do instead? And I'm like, aha, really? I got a solution for you now, Ramon. So, the article right here, thousands of women with cosmetic filler injections, face cancer risk. And there's a cool article, which I thought was really beautiful. Another hated person. See this little image on the right. I may become the world's most hated plastic surgeon, but I had to raise my dermal filler fears, because now that these surgeons or injectors are seeing these cancer risks, they in their own heart of hearts are really truly practicing the Hippocratic Oath and are saying, I can't do this. I can't do this to my patients, because the question is, would I do this to my teenage daughter? And the answer is no. And these are the doctors that we need to know about these things and step up and speak up more. So a little bit more information. We kind of already talked into this, and I just mentioned that about what this guy says, that all filler patients will have some degree of lymphatic blockages, and they can damage the vital structures. And this guy's amazing. This guy is Australian. You can watch this video on your own. This guy here, Australian something, can't remember, but it's part of my slideshow. Of all 10 patients tested, MRI screened, all 10 showed persistence of filler longer than 2 years, including one as long as 12. Although there's not a lot of research on the subject, other studies have found hyaluronic acid injections in 10 males did not show significant reduction in hyaluronic acid volume over 12 months. They could last 12 months to an indefinite period of time. And the fillers were detected in the ultrasounds of patients who received fillers up to 2, 6, and 12 years ago. Interestingly, all patients deny getting filler until presented with ultrasound evidence. So there's a lot of these studies that are all out there for you. We talked about this already. I think Dr. Kim went through it. You know, you can become an injector, $600 weekend. I mean, it's wild how and then all kinds of Instagram ads. The place I even went to go check my hormones last week, and they're like, here's some HRT, and like a huge pamphlet, 80% of which was advertising fillers and Botox. Of course, you know, I spoke up when I was there. Over 2/3 of the Botox in the US is off label, which means something happens to you, there's no one to sue. There's no recourse. It's all your own expense. So, and then they're doing the same thing with fillers and just plumping up everything. It's kind of like all of a sudden we've become blow up dolls. Weird, huh? There's the warning. If there's that, the black box warning right there. More statistics for you guys. Kind of went over that already. They're also using the Botox for breast implant tissue expanders. So they're using it in other surgeries as well. I do need to share with you guys some other things about some other permanent medical devices, just for your consideration, because a lot of people are doing these pedo threads. Those are considered like forever chemicals, and those are also equally toxic. So this is just questions, you know, if you really want to work with somebody, where'd you train? How long was the training, et cetera. The gaslighting that we hear, it's our own self-gaslighting because we've been programmed to say this, I'll be fine. It won't happen to me. My other friends got it and they're fine. I've had it before and I'm fine. It's such a small amount. This is what you'll hear from the injectors. Doesn't travel from the site. You could always erase it with hyaluronidase and just take a Benadryl. Doesn't work. We see a lot of these that are not pure as well. $175,000 worth of toxic injectables seized because they seize humans. That came out about a week before I was on stage in 2023 presenting on toxic beauty, which is when Rimka heard me speak. And you don't know what you're getting injected with, right? You know, maybe it's cheap to get X number of units, but you don't know where they're coming from. So that's important. We're also finding that breast implant illness is very similar any implant illness. So the bleeding edge was something you mentioned earlier, Jen. There's a great documentary, horrifying documentary, called The Bleeding Edge that goes into mesh. And so I always encourage people, before you put anything in the body, especially if it's permanent, ask people like us, you know, as soundboards, is there something else I could do maybe as a second, third opinion other than these materials? Because these things are creating very similar effects. So just to be forewarned, there's the pedo threads right there. We don't need all this crap if you have a good skincare line. You just don't. You just don't. This stuff is polypropylene and is synthetic plastic. We don't know how long it takes for plastic to degrade in the body. They're called forever chemicals for a reason, because they are they last forever. That's like the Teflon. We're putting Teflon in our face. Wonderful. For what? For who? Who are we trying to impress? When, if we're in a, you know, hetero relationship, I pulled a lot of men and they're like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, most of them think that we are crazy. So really, seriously, what are we doing this for? Here was me getting okay. So I took Cipro, and after I took Cipro, my Achilles tendon ruptured, which is exactly what it's known to do, the side effect. Then they put the pedo thread type materials inside of me for stitches, and I had a massive reaction. So our bodies right now, you should have seen when I stool tested myself, my immune system was basically gone. This is what I see with my women patients who are doing toxic beauty over and over and over again, and never even considering how their immune system has to work every day, all day for their entire life, until one day the tipping point occurs and they get so sick that they are diagnosed with an autoimmune disease or cancer or worse, death. So all kinds of studies out there. This is the kind of stuff I see on reports all the time. I'm sick of it. I want to see you guys have clean reports, BPA, ethyl parabens, Parkinson's. I mean, all this stuff is not an accident, it's toxicity. So I'll stop there because I have a lot more that came from, but I kind of want to look like that, don't you? So there's my weird camera.
Wow. Just wow. I mean, this is crazy. Is anyone else just absolutely floored? Please, can we give Dr. Kazer all the love in the comments for sharing this with us? Who wants to share this with about 10 people that they know right now? All I could think of was who else needs to know about this. So thank goodness we got a really good recording that we will all have access to, that we can share with other people. And Dr. Kazer, thank you for your selflessness, for allowing us to share slides. I was taking picture, and I'm like, it's going to my daughter, it's going to my daughter's friends, it's going to my neighbor. All these people that we all know that are doing this. And yes, we have a solution, and it's great. Just knowing, knowing is half the battle. So thank you so, so much for sharing that with us. The unicorn.
We're magical as we are.
Absolutely. No, that is, I mean, thank you so much. I am speechless right now. And people who know me know that that doesn't happen very often, but what an amazing presentation. Dr. Hurt, Dr. Rimka, Dr. Williamson, Dr. Kazer. Will y'all come back and do this again sometime? Have a little roundtable discussion amongst yourselves.
We're either going to use my bigger Zoom or you need to upgrade.
Yeah, I will upgrade
Because
the Zoom. I didn't know.
People are really mad. Now I'm the
I
most
don't
listened person
blame
on the
'em.
cell phone text list.